On what happened yesterday at Anfield, of course, Liverpool beating the defending champions Manchester City by 2-0. And it's all about that six from Pep, of course, which he showed the crowd after he was saying you're going to get sacked in the morning. We can't handle it. The front page of one of the newspapers. Well, this is what Pep had to say after the game. He said, we don't have the pace in the middle right now, and Liverpool are stronger in the duels. We're not good in transitions over 30 to 40 metres compared to them. We had to adapt. I cannot forget which players I have. Many times we come in our prime and suffer going 1-0 or 2-0 down, but we could not compete against Liverpool, a transitional team, because they're so fast and stronger than us in those positions. Let's welcome in, shall we? Zat Knight is with us, as is Mario Malchiot. We're hearing from the boys in a moment. Pep Guardiola, Stevie, is regarded as one of the best managers, if not the best manager, in the game right now.
Yep.
Are you surprised that we haven't seen him do more to try and counteract this horrible run they're on? He's talking about all the positives from Liverpool. Right. None of that is a surprise. He knew that was coming.
Yep.
Why hasn't he addressed it?
Because I think he probably thinks that his way is the best way. And he probably thinks that his way with the players he has right now is the only way that they can maybe win again. Because otherwise it makes no sense to keep doing what you do and continue to lose. And that can only be through stubbornness. But it does come into question the fact that he said all those things. Well, guess what? He's playing Forest next. Guess what Forest are all about?
Yep.
Pace in the middle and counter-attacking you. So that would suggest that you have to change. And so you have to get numbers in the middle. If you don't have the legs, because he said you don't have the legs, then you need to flood it. And you need to put numbers in there. That means you have to go with 4, at least. So...
But you're saying at the moment he can't get out of his own way, basically.
Well, he can't. Listen, he knows that the best way to play, if he has his team, is the way they've been doing it for the last 8 seasons. This is his 9th season.
Yeah.
But now has come the time where he's got a team in front of him that can't win games doing it his way. And the only reason he won't change it is if he's stubborn. And so far, he's shown no inkling to change it whatsoever. But to what he's just said, you surely cannot go again with what you've got.
Yeah.
You surely can't, because that performance, not just from Liverpool, but from City, has got, we can't keep doing this written all over it.
Absolutely.
So, again, we're going to have to wait and see, but I will be surprised if he changes it. But
I think he'll have to try something. But to your question, Dan, I don't think he can address it. No. Given the personnel, and this is the thing with City and how they've kind of unravelled over recent weeks. City, in years gone by, have always had their successes in pressing high up the park, keeping the team in front of them. Now, all of a sudden, teams are willing to turn them around with longer balls, play through midfield, and they simply can't cope. They don't have the legs in Gundogan and David Silva. They simply cannot keep up. And then Nunes and Rico Lewis just don't have the experience in pressing from those wide areas, or when to drop off. They're having issues in just trying to get crosses into Erling Haaland. Change that up, whether you put Grealish, whether you put Doku, it's the same old answer. And then you look at some of the more experienced and younger players who maybe could play in that midfield, who could offer legs. I look at Akanji as a possible solution. And yes, he's got Kovacic and etc. injured. Akanji drifted into midfield in the Spurs game. And in the goal that Pedro Porro scored, he runs off Akanji and leaves him for dead. In 10 yards of space. So now all of a sudden, Akanji is showing that he isn't willing to do any bit of that tracking, and you just look throughout that City squad. You look through all the starting 11, what options he has, who are fit, and he can't address it. The other thing that just kind of keeps jumping out at me is with each passing week, Rodri's a better and better player.
Well, yes, Rodri's value's doubled since getting injured. Mario, what's interesting, he does have to do something different, doesn't he? He does have to try and change things, because as Stevie says, you go into Forest and play like you did, as you have over the last few games, you're going to lose another.
Yeah, of course. I think also he understands the game of the way he plays, and everybody likes the way he plays back home here in Holland. So playing against the Dutch coach, Slot, he should have known that tactically he's going to try to outmaster him in the sense of how he started the game. Nunes already on the left and Silva on the right. You knew he was going to go safer. Then the way when he changed later on, he put Doku on, you understand, and Grealish and Savinho. So having that setup, he knew in the middle the battle was gone because he lost the game. Then he tried to change and try to play them at the attacking side. What did Slot do? He put in Nunes and made him go up front for Liverpool. Why? Because he can create, because they were pushing Liverpool back. They were really pressing them all the way in their own box. And then Liverpool needed to get some breathing out. So the only way to do that is put someone up front, because the other three did already their job, you know, the Diaz and Gakpo and was Salah. So he now needed some surprise, and that's why he brought him on. So in a way, why I'm saying this is because he played against someone that had an answer to his tactical movements, whatever he has left. And if he sticks to the way he's doing it right now, it's going to be interesting. But Pep Guardiola is a man that likes to control the games, and now he's playing against someone that leads Liverpool now, and his objective is also controlling the games. So we played two coaches. He's a greater one because he achieved so much, but still has to understand people are trying to outmaster him, and that's what's happening now.
Zat, are you surprised that we haven't seen changes already from Pep Guardiola?
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't put a holding midfielder in there, maybe a Kanji or Nathan Ake, because both of them have played in there. And I think, obviously, they're not going to do as good a job as Rodri, but they give that safety net. And they've gone in there with two technical players with no legs. Yeah, they're good on the ball, but they can't get back. So I'm surprised he hasn't tried to rectify that and put one of them two in there.
What's interesting when you take a look at the list of injuries, Rodri is obviously the big one, but it isn't a massive shopping list. There's still enough players available who've been there, done that, and been successful. This is who wasn't available for Liverpool game. Rodri, of course, Kovacic. So you've got your two holding midfielders out. Oscar Bob, you know, looked promising, but not exactly guaranteed starter. John Stones, we know the same really about him. So this is not the end of the world for Manchester City.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it seems to be, which kind of leads you into, well, what have they been doing in the market over the last couple of seasons? And when they have been so good, Manchester City, the people that they've added have added something. But if you look, obviously, Savinho's had a shocker. Gundogan's old. Vardio's had a shocker as well. He came and did well last season. Nunez, the Doku, little flashes. Kovacic, of course, but another kind of older statesman coming in. They have dropped the ball a bit, haven't they, in these transfers?
And in a way that maybe you could understand. Now, years gone by, City would change the squad up to play in the cup competitions or whatever it may be, and you just think, well, this is as good a team as the team they played last week.
Yeah.
And I just feel that this transfer window, it was on an eye for the future. The signings of Savinho, of Nunes, Doku last year, not ready to be that starter, to be that difference maker right now, but you felt in a couple of years with this City squad and Pep, they would fit right in. Guardiola, who certainly had shown himself to be, you figure, one of the best defenders in world football, certainly the World Cup in 2022, all of a sudden he's hit a period here where he can't do anything right. And then the change, we've spoken about Kovacic, John Stones, we saw Pep Guardiola use him as this kind of hybrid wing-back stepping into midfield, and nobody seemed to know what to do. And John Stones played that role so wonderfully well. You had other teams try to do similarly with zero effect. So now you wonder if that's the kind of switch up, for want of a better term, that Guardiola is just missing with John Stones, because nobody else can do it. And as I mentioned, I know Zat mentioned it, Akanji just has not shown a willingness just to do the graft work, just to track players, basic things like that. And you just wonder how much of that kind of mindset is about how City has always defended during those 6 title wins, where they just press people and everybody's in front of them. They hardly ever get turned, and now the teams are turning them because they can play through midfield. They just don't know how to respond.
I think we've got to realise that the situation City are in is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's unusual. The amount of injuries that they have had and the amount of players that they've had to...
I don't know, Stevie. Real Madrid had a whole hatful of injuries last season. They won La Liga and the Champions League. Ancelotti managed to get it done. He found a way.
They have had to play players that are not fit. And we absolutely do not sit here and give them an inch. We expect them to be the City of the last 6-7 years, and certainly the last 4 that have won. And so when you're playing with players that are not fit, and clearly he brings, you know, we can say that he brought Doku and Grealish on because he wanted to change the tactics. No, he didn't. He brought them on because he couldn't play them from the start. That's why he brought them on, because they're not fit.
Why don't you start with them then and then bring them off later? Why give Liverpool a 2-0 lead?
Well, because he's playing safe. Yeah. They haven't won for 6 games.
So you put your best team. You put your best team out, don't you?
Not fit. Put people on the field that are 100% fit and who can maybe keep it tight, and we don't lose much. That's the way of thinking. Now, I'm with you. If it's me, I play them until they fall over, and then I take them off. That's the way I would do it. That's the way you would do it. But that's not the way he wanted to do it.
I think to say this is an extraordinary circumstance is giving him a pass. It's giving Manchester City a pass.
Do you want to go through this team? Right, you've got a new goalkeeper in.
This is his choice. No, he chose to drop Ederson, didn't he?
The only choice he has is to change the way they play. That's the only choice he has because of what he's got available.
So him changing the goalkeeper?
The way they play.
Listen, I understand what you're saying, Steve, but
I think they've read what they've said. I think they've made mistakes in the last 2 seasons, the transfer windows, and this come back and bite them in the butt now. I think that's the issue.
And again, you're saying that because you're holding them to a standard that for some they have been unbelievable for 7-8 years that they've managed to do that. Well, maybe they haven't been able to. Maybe this.
No, but hold on, Stevie.
You know, I just don't think we should sit here and absolutely annihilate them because they find themselves in a situation where he's struggling to pick a team that plays the way he wants to play. That's the bottom.
Because one starter is out. One starter.
Hold on, but Stevie, here's my thing. Here's my thing with this. While I think you're right, we are holding them to a standard that we expect of Manchester City, or have come to expect. They've also spent a lot of money in building this squad, in making sure it's deep enough to cope on multiple fronts, and you would assume to cope with injuries. So while yes, they have injuries, and he's struggling to make that fit, they have spent a lot of money, and now they find themselves in a position where some of those players who've been so reliable, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, as we've mentioned, are aging out. At a time where some of the players that they've spent a lot of money in are still growing into those positions. So they find themselves in this weird kind of limbo where some are out, some are coming in. But that has to be down to their transfer policy. Because, again, they have spent an absolute fortune.
Just to throw a little spanner in, right? Have the players that they really wanted or could have gotten been available, and are there players out there that are going to replace what they've got? We've got to remember that as well. They have been in the clouds as far as ability, the whole team, every single thing you want to look at. Are the players not around that they can go and keep the standards high?
I know that player at Chelsea's pretty good. What's his name? Cole Palmer? Where was he? Where was he before?
To that point, you spent 100 million.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you.
And by the way, Cole Palmer would have changed this.
Well, he's guaranteed. I think that's a weird conversation to have.
No, but come on. Guys, listen, guys.
Well, there you go. Cole Palmer will get the ball.
Yeah, give it to Haaland.
Give it to him. Well, we don't have it.
Shush, Mario wants to talk.
Sorry, you're wrong.
Guys, listen. You know. Look, what the guys are also highlighting. I think one of the key factors for Guardiola is that his team is built of always having the ball and being in control. Now he's going through a period where he wants to play the same game and try to dictate it, but if you see the way he's being attacked, his defensive line is every time people are running at them. Look how high his line was. You don't think Slot knew that he's going to play the high line and he's going to look for the 40 yards behind him all the time?